to because they're afraid.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays.
All right, welcome to Real Talk on All Sports All Plays Network. I'm here with my guy, Mike Hughes, all things Shot Town. Mike, what's up, man? How you doing?
Sir, what's up, Kenny? How you doing, my brother?
Pretty good, pretty good. So we're gonna hold it down tonight, and let's get right into it, man. We saw last night that Kyrie Irving got on IG Live and kind of spoke his piece, and conveyed his thoughts and talked about how he was feeling about this whole situation. There's been a lot of speculation, a lot of talking, about talking heads and people out there. And so he just took an opportunity to speak, from his own perspective so people could hear from the horse's mouth. So what was your reaction? What was your thoughts? What was your thoughts on what and the situation?
My bad. But it's definitely one of those situations. First of all, we were on ASAP Live when we were doing that. When Kyrie had his Instagram Live, it was me, LFDZ, and a bunch of Tony and Freddie, Spotlight. Everybody was on there while we were listening to Kyrie Live. So it was really cool to have that genuine reaction. You saw Freddie in the comments on ASAP lying, acting like Kyrie was on the show. We had Kyrie's live on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Kyrie Irving,
thanks for clearing that up.
Kyrie Irving was not in the building, but he was. He was
thanks
there.
For clearing that up.
It had to be cleared up. But it's definitely one of those situations. I was actually talking about it, and I don't mean to bring in my personal life. But I did come from the Windy City. I've had dealt with a lot of things in my life that I feel like, if was brought up to a huge platform, would make me look horrible and would make me look, like a crazy individual. And I feel like the way we cope with things and the way we deal with things is very different for every individual. Not everybody is Kobe Bryant. Not everybody is LeBron James. And I discussed, Kenny, I don't know how deep you know into it. Kyrie Irving, he leaves Cleveland in 2018 and he wants to be the man, and he's ready to be the man, and he's ready to be that guy in Boston. His grandfather, who raised him and helped raise him, passes away. And then you start to see a disconnect in Boston with the teammates, with himself, and with so many people. And I feel like that was a big part of it in 2019, the why Kyrie had that disconnect. 2020 happens, you lose Kobe Bryant, a close mentor, a close individual that was friends with you. And not to get off topic, but I loved what Kyrie said, is because he even said, I have my traumas. I have my things that I'm going through. And nobody on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith, I'm coming on here live. I don't care if ASAP Network approves of it or not. You're a clown, bro. You're a clown. And I said it earlier to Freddie. The highest Stephen A. Smith has ever played is D2 basketball at a crappy basketball school. So for you to go out there, first of all, to tell anybody how to hoop, I don't know who you are. Second of all, to be creating false narratives about a man. Oh, well, my sources are telling me Kyrie would rather retire. Bam, Kyrie shot that down. Kyrie told you, no, I'm not. Kyrie doesn't want to hoop no more. First of all, Kenny, I know you're someone who's played before. I know you're someone who, who's had fun watching the game over years and years. When you're a hooper, bro, you never lose that love for the game because you're a hooper, bro. I know guys who will play all the way to 80, 90 years old if they got the chance. Kyrie Irving, I never had a doubt for a minute that he fell out of love with basketball. I think he fell out of love with himself. And I think that was the most amazing message and part of it. He also had a part about COVID-19. Saying, I support the vaccinations, but I also support the people who don't get vaccinated. There was a false narrative that Kyrie was completely anti-vax, and now that's not true. So to sum it up, I know I've been rambling. Y'all were wrong about Kyrie. Not you specifically, Kenny, but y'all were wrong about Kyrie. You don't know the traumas this man endures. And if you've seen me and you know me as a person, Jonathan can vouch for it. I've gone through things in my life that I couldn't handle for a very long time. And if I was on a spotlight like Kyrie Irving, I don't know how I'd handle myself. I don't know how I'd be able to do that. So when you see Kyrie take these steps back, I'm happy he's finally opening up about those traumas, about Kobe and his grandfather and all these other things, because the media just ate this man alive for years. And the only reason it was allowed is because Kyrie didn't say anything about it. So I'm happy through his own way, not by going on First Take and giving them that publicity, going on his own live. I'm happy Kyrie did what he did.
Yeah. Let me just start off by saying one that this is in interest of full disclosure. Kyrie is family. Like I've known him since he was. I've known his father since I was a kid. Like I call his father my uncle. Him
Right.
and my uncle grew up together. They're like brothers. I have his number in my phone right now. I could text him right now if I wanted to.
Right.
That's how close I am to the family. So, whatever I say, but this is speaking for me. I'm not speaking for the family in any way, shape, or form. I haven't asked, I haven't talked to them about it because that's their personal business.
Right.
Um, I think you nailed a lot of things. I think the most important thing that you said was that he clearly hasn't. He's not on one side or the other.
Right.
I think what he's doing, and I understand. Well, what his whole issue is the mandatory part of it. Like
Right.
I think that he made that clear is that he was under the impression that he would be able to play this season as an unvaccinated player and not be mandated to do so. And my issue with the whole thing, and I'm not going to say left or right or who's wrong. I've been vaccinated, but that was my personal decision.
Right.
But
Me
I
too.
did that of my own free will, and I did that of my own free choice. And I think that's where the problem is that this has become, and this is not, and this is a situation where this is not every NBA city. It would be different
Right. It's
now
like
if
two.
every
It's two.
it's just two right now. It's San Francisco, no, three. San Francisco, LA, and New York. It's not every city that's mandating this vaccination.
Right.
Now I can understand if every city was mandating this vaccination and they would, that would make it fair for everybody. That would be something where everybody will be abiding by the same rules. That's not the case. So I think that's where the issue lies, and I think that's where his issue lies.
Right.
And just speaking from, just speaking also from a personal perspective, like I know the stock he comes from. I know the type of person that he is. He comes from a great family. He's a very intellectual. He's
Right.
super smart. And he comes from a pure place and he has a pure heart. Just a
Exactly.
real, a quick personal story. Like I could tell you, I've been coaching high school ball for the last 5 years. And one year, I just reached out to his dad and was just like, we were just talking about some personal things. And I was just like, yo, I love the new sneakers. I should let me get some for my kids. He's like, yeah, I got you. So when season came around, I was like, yo, you still got me on the sneakers? Yeah, send me the sizes. I sent him the sizes for the kids. He sent a box of sneakers for the entire team. The entire team wore Kyrie Irving sneakers for that season. He didn't know them kids. He just did that based on a relationship that he had with me. So like that's the stock that he comes from. So this is not no. And here's the issue that I have with Stephen A. Smith. And you talked about it. The issue with Stephen A. Smith is he's talking about this like this is a basketball issue. This
Right.
has nothing to do with basketball. This is a personal. This is an individual freedom situation that he's standing for, and
Right.
that's why. And even and even with those personal situations, when we talk about it's okay when we talk about it's all right when guys want to sit out for contract situations. They
Right.
say that's business, but then when it comes to personal stuff, then that's when
And
everybody
your
wants
health
to.
and your
Yeah,
religion.
your
It's
personal
different.
health. Then that's when everyone wants to have an issue. Like,
Right.
man, you can't. You gotta be consistent with it. And that's the problem. That's the issue with Stephen A. Is that you want to talk about people to go get their money, but then when somebody stands on the principle and stands to lose money, like this guy is potentially giving up $17 million. This ain't no drop in a bucket. Yes, he has money, but that's a lot of money. So for anyone that thinks this is just about basketball, like you're just painting a broad stroke,
Right.
and you're totally missing the point. So I'm just glad that he's standing for what he believes in. Like, and at the end of the day, man, you can't please everyone. No matter
Right.
what stand you take, people are gonna have issue with it. So I respect him for it, and it's not me being a homer. This is me respecting him as a man. And
Exactly.
so you just applaud the stance that he takes, and then do what you think is right. And also he left the window open, he left the door open. Like who knows? He may at some point get vaccinated.
Right.
But clearly, he's just not comfortable with it right now. And who's to say? And it's not our business to say whether or not he should be comfortable with it now or later on. Because even with the vaccine, and this is my last statement, even with the vaccine, we all know that it does not prevent you from getting COVID.
Very true.
It will be one thing, we talk about the smallpox and all those vaccinations that you get as a kid. Those are
Right.
known.
Kenny, you still there? My guy. All right, so I think we lost Kenny for a quick second. So we're gonna continue to talk live, but as we wait for Kenny, I do think a big important thing.
I'll fill in for him.
Yeah. So Nate, where do you, and while we wait for Kenny, where do you stand with Kyrie Irving?
So let's just say that there are some on the belief standpoint that there's a lot of things that I don't disagree with, but like you hit it on the nail. I mean, he has to stick up for what he believes in, and I mean, he's dealt with a lot, and he's finally coming up with what he has dealt with. Finally opened it out to people. So I agree. I think he is doing the right thing. But even though on what he believes and what I believe are two completely different things.
Right. I do too. Personally, where I stand, and not to get political, I don't want to lose any viewers on here. I think everyone should get vaccinated. I think at this point, I mean, if one of us is going down, we're all going down. And that's how I look at it. If the majority is vaxxed, I'll get vaxxed. I don't want to be the only one that's not left on this earth if something does go wrong. But if it works, then that's fine. I look at it like this. People are painting Kyrie to try to see that he's seeing himself as a freedom writer, as a freedom guy who's trying to be like MLK and trying to be like, Malcolm X and all these other people. That's not at all what Kyrie's doing. Kyrie's just taking a stand on what he believes in. And for Stephen A. Smith and others to be going out here and saying Kyrie doesn't do this and won't get vaccinated, he's an idiot, he's a fool. But how many % of Americans are vaccinated? So are you calling the rest of America who isn't vaccinated idiots? Are you calling them fools? Are you calling them based on their beliefs and their religious backgrounds and all this other stuff? Stephen A. Smith is not only calling Kyrie an idiot and a fool, but he's calling a lot of Americans that as well, and a lot of individuals in other countries. That's where I think, Stephen A. Smith lost all my respect, and I truly will not, on purpose, turn on First Take ever in my life for the rest of for until Stephen A. Smith is gone, which won't happen because he'll always be ESPN's baby. But at the end of the day, I lost total respect for that. And you look at this man's mental health. We see it, Nate, all the time. I'm sure you've dealt with your own things in life.
Mm-hmm.
We see how much mental health awareness is being brought to the attention of the NFL, of the NBA, and all this other stuff. And then you have this man who's preaching, mental health awareness and then calling someone an idiot and because of their personal stance or what they're going through.
Yeah. I don't watch talk shows by ESPN anymore. I watch documentaries and I watch Peyton and Eli's places.
They're good. They're good.
And obviously I watch the sporting events, but I don't watch talk shows on not even Stephen A's World. You just watch that. And I never paid attention to their First Take other than watching a couple of quick videos. But I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff anymore because of things like this.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. I'm looking at it, and I'll say it clear as day. Do I agree that Kyrie shouldn't get vaccinated? No. I think everybody should. I think if everybody in this world was vaccinated, whether it's good for us or bad for us in the long haul, pardon me, but all this shit would most likely go away for at least the majority. It would be just like the flu, you get it and not as many people get it, but it's controllable. You know what I mean? So that's the way I look at it. I just want, personally, bro, I'm 21. Nate, you're 19. I just want to have my 20.
Close to 20.
Right. we just want to experience our 20s. We just want to experience that normal life again, as normal as it's going to get. So to me, in my eyes, I think that way is by getting everyone vaccinated. But I understand Kyrie's side of the spectrum of, what about the future? What about 10 years from now? What about, you're going to see that commercial on the TV potentially that says, if you took the COVID-19 shot, you are due for a certain amount of pay. And, because of this, so-and-so, you see with all these other shots on the TV. So it's definitely a concern, and it's definitely something he doesn't want to take a chance on. I have all the respect in the world. Just to recap, if Kenny does come back, we will definitely let Kenny have his final word. He did have something to say. And with the family and everything, he definitely does have that connection and does have that insight. But bro, like, we talked about it yesterday, and Nate, I don't know if you were watching or not. We talked about it yesterday, and it's the biggest part that bothers me, bro, is that, while you're grieving, a normal person grieves death, and I've grieved a lot of it personally myself, and it changes.
Especially within this last year, I've done a lot too.
Right. And you've seen that. And Nate, now imagine you having bad days. Everyone has bad days because of losing people. You miss people, you have these situations. Now imagine you're on the spotlight like Kyrie Irving, and you're having these days and you just need a break for a minute. And then some guy who never even played for a D1 basketball school, I'm calling you out, Stephen A. You never hooped in your life. You're not good. You never were. I don't know why you're talking about basketball to begin with. I don't care. I'm being disrespectful because that's how you're treating Kyrie. You're telling this man how to live his life, how to grieve, how to process things. Bro, it makes no sense. We're supposed to be talking about basketball, and you're talking about this man's state of mind. You're talking about this man's life. You're trying to create false ideologies. All respect to the world for Kyrie Irving and what he did yesterday. I think it was a big step in the right direction for actually getting him back on the court. I think by saying that, by not being silent, I think it looks a lot better on his part. And, we see James Harden even came out in a press conference saying he hasn't talked to Kyrie, since blah, 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 so-and-so. And it's been a very long time, probably all summer. So to me, I'm looking at it from a perspective of, as long as, I think at some point he reaches out to James, and obviously I feel like maybe he's reached out to KD, but I doubt either of the two would ever talk about that, with the media, because how they feel about that. I definitely think they're having conversation. I definitely think they're talking and being known that Kyrie wants to be there. There's no doubt in my mind that Kyrie wants to hoop and Kyrie wants to be effective.
And I'm sorry, I just I saw a quick score real quick. Currently, the Columbus Blue Jackets are up over Arizona 7-1.
Right. It's a bad day for hockey. And there's my man Kenny. Kenny, I went off a little bit more on Stephen A. while you were gone. Nate gave his take, but you had one final important. I don't know if you remember it or not. Important place you were going. One final take. What was that?
Where did I leave off?
You left off. We had a couple conversations. We even talked about the Blue Jackets for a hot minute. You left off. You were basically talking about the family, everything they've done. Kyrie's come from a good branch.
Okay. Yeah. So I was just saying that. The last thing I was saying was about, everybody loves to talk about, when it's a contract situation or when it's a money situation, get your money, take care of your business, do what's right for you. But then when it comes to personal decisions and things like things of this nature, then it's about basketball. And so that's my problem, is that the contradiction there. And I just think that, when it comes to this situation, when it comes to personal health, that should fall under the same category. And so right. I think it should be afforded that same. Because at the end of the day, like, if there was an issue, if there was a problem, we would have heard something by now from his teammates. Right. Like his teammates, and I'm sure there's other people that have issues with this mandatory vaccine.
I bet Andrew Wiggins was one of those guys.
Yeah, and he spoke out about it, and he said, he couldn't afford to lose the money. So, and I understand, and that's I think what Kyrie was doing was that, he's, as being a voice, he has the wherewithal where he can take that hit. So right. He's taking that hit for everybody else that can. And that's what I think that's being lost here, and that's what's missing.
And I think that's a great point you were making, and I kind of made it while you were gone. I didn't know if you were still listening or not. I hated the freedom rider Kyrie Irving narrative that he's trying to be MLK, that he's trying to be Malcolm X. He's not trying to lead the anti-vaxxers, in a march that we shouldn't get vaccinated. What Kyrie's trying to say is, and this is me just taking it from my outside looking in and Kyrie's perspective, is that you shouldn't have to worry about money. You should be worrying about your health and your beliefs and stand by what you believe in. He's saying these people are losing their jobs for what they believe in, and he's trying to prove that he feels the same way, and that even millions and millions of dollars, $17 million, doesn't change that fact. Now, he's saying you can't buy me, you can't buy my health. Now, Kenny, I want to ask you something. Do you know the exact percentage of Americans vaccinated?
I do not.
As of October 13th, I just looked it up, it's 56.6% of the country's population, according to CDC's data. Now, I want to ask you something. Stephen A. Smith said Kyrie's what for not being vaccinated? An idiot, right? So are you calling over 40% of Americans idiots? And that's the narrative that I just don't get. We talk about it so much. We talk about, okay, fine. You don't play in the NBA. You're not Charles Barkley up there on TNT with Shaq and all these other people that are great at what they do, and Ernie, who's very respected. But you're going out there and you're talking basketball, and that's perfectly fine. But you're not talking basketball anymore. You're talking about something you have no idea what you're talking about, because frankly, very few people do. So 10 years from now, Kenny, God forbid, 10 years from now, me and you have side effects from COVID-19 vaccines, and everybody has 3 arms and 3 legs and all of this.
No one has all the answers, man.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. You don't know. So how are you to call this man an idiot? I'm personally, and I already said it with Nate, I think everyone should get vaccinated. I think that's the only way to make things, get to a point to where it's as normal as possible. But that's my stance on it. But I also understand from a perspective of Kyrie, where, and so many others, where it's, I really don't know what this is. And just because it has America's label on it doesn't mean that I think it's going to be great, because history has proven, we also sponsored cigarettes. I'm not saying this is the same thing, but we also sponsored a lot of things. Looking back on it, you look at it and go, wow, that shit flew for a very long time, until now it's anti-cigarettes, it's anti-this. And 10 years from now, like I said, Kyrie looks at it from, what if I see that commercial on the TV that says, if you took the COVID-19 vaccination, you're doing it. We see those commercials all the time.
Yeah, we don't know like that. That's
all
it, man.
the time. And so to me, I'm looking at it from a perspective of Kyrie as a man, Kyrie who he's trying to become, and Kyrie's barely a man. That's how I look at it. Kyrie is still a kid. Kyrie's in his 20s, you know what I mean? Late 20s, but he's been being ridiculed for years, whether it was in Cleveland, whether it was in Boston, now in New York. This is a kid who's not only going through things, but going through a pandemic. So for you, Stephen A. Smith, a grown man, to be using your platform to just completely try to destroy this man's career. And this isn't just a shot at Stephen A. Smith. This is all media, because everybody's on Kyrie's nuts. And I'm going to say that because that's what it is. Everybody is on Kyrie. Everyone wants to take on Kyrie, but nobody wants to ask Kyrie truly how he feels. Why is this the first time truly I've ever heard anybody ask the question of what are Kyrie's traumas that he's talking about? What is this? What is that? I'm 21 years old. How did I know more about the things he's been going through than these people that should be reporting? That's how I'm looking at it, Kenny. I don't mean to continue. We've been talking about this for a while, but it really bothers me, because you have facts, but you ignore them and write your own narratives for views. And it's disgusting.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're in the hot take, the hot take arena, or we're in the hot take society, or the hot take, era of sports journalism to a degree. So, a lot of times people want to be the ones to get their hot takes out there, get their thoughts out there, and think that, that they're the be all end all. They don't have all the answers, because no one has all the answers when it comes to this thing. So for you to stand on one side and say that you're totally right, you can't stand on one side and say that you're totally right, because we don't have all the answers, and nothing, especially with this thing, man. This has been the one thing to where every time we think that we have an idea about this thing, it changes.
Yeah. Now, remember the summer, Kenny? Oh man, summer was beautiful, and now it's like, all right, Delta, and I'm
right.
like,
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Anytime we feel like we got a handle on this thing, it just starts to spiral. So there's no right answers. But let's move on, man. So we talked about Kyrie and his situation. Let's talk about the other, quote unquote person that's been hot in the news in the NBA, and that's Ben Simmons.
This is where my cues changes.
Yeah, so there's been some word or some thoughts or some rumors or whatever news, whatever you want to call it, for a Ben Simmons and a Kyrie Irving trade. What do you think? If and we're just talking hypothetically, if that trade was to happen, what do you think would be the outcome for those two teams? Or what do you think? How would it turn out for those two teams if it was to happen?
First of all, for the first time ever, I think you got to say it. I got to say it. Shout out Freddie Henderson, because Freddie was the first person from my understanding to even propose that trade. It was before First Take took it. It was before ESPN took it. Freddie was the first person who said, maybe Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving should get flipped. That was actually, Freddie said that months ago. So I'm looking at it. Shout out Freddie for the first time in all of, Real Talk and all of our shows.
In his life.
Yeah, in his life.
Let me stop.
Nah, I'm playing. But Freddie really hit that one on the head, and it's actually becoming a real possibility. I think personally, it's more realistic than Dame and Kyrie. I think it makes a lot more sense because of how much draft capital that the Brooklyn Nets have lost. Gaining someone like Ben Simmons, who's so young. James Harden's old. James Harden's a dog. He's putting up numbers. KD's a dog. He's putting up numbers. But they're not your future. They're your win right now. So bringing in Ben Simmons, you have your win for a very long time. You know what I mean? No matter how he develops, people will want to play with Ben Simmons regardless. It will change if he continues the path he's going down. But I definitely think it is a good fit. Now, for Philly, I love it. I love it strictly based on how they handled Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson had a money problem. Allen Iverson had a gambling issue. Allen Iverson had off-the-court issues, and they handled him. They protected him. They did everything they could. That ownership is A1, very classy, very caring about the players. So for someone of Kyrie's situation, with what we talked about, his traumas, whatever inner demons he has going on and his stances, I feel like they protect Kyrie and they'd have Kyrie's back. Because in my eyes, I'm with Kyrie. I support Kyrie, and I'm going to say this next comment in the most respectful way possible. Ben Simmons is an idiot, like point blank, period. For the simple fact of why is Kyrie upset with the media is because the media is bashing him for things that aren't fair. Now, the 76ers are bashing Ben Simmons. Why, Kenny? Because he refuses to develop? Dog. This is the NBA. You need to develop. We're not asking you to be the number one scorer on the team. We're not asking you to be the leader. Joel Embiid has clearly taken that mantle. Mm-hmm. All we're asking you to do is shoot the three ball at least once a game. And you can't even give us that, but you'll do it all day in practice. So I think it's a perfect scenario. I think Ben Simmons being around Harden and being around KD, Joe Harris, Blake Griffin, a bunch of other guys, he really can just play his game. And for the short term, I think it would work out. Now, I think the second those guys all leave, Brooklyn's a crapshoot. No picks, nothing to do, and all you got left is Ben Simmons and probably Joe Harris. But looking at it from the outside looking in, I think for Philly, you got to do this. Because remember, Kenny, one shot. Kyrie gets one shot, and automatically Philly's a huge contender with Kyrie Irving.
Oh, yeah, it's interesting. Because I think why it would work is because of the points that you made, especially with the Sixers, they need a closer,
right?
And that's what Kyrie does. And they need a shot maker that can make shots down the stretch and kind of run the show to close it down. And it would be a perfect compliment for inside outside between him and Joel Embiid. So I love the fit of it would potentially would definitely be a really good fit. And I think on the other end, what you were talking about with Ben Simmons, he would be able to come in and be the point. He would be able to he have all those guys out there in the wings to space the court, and he have all the room he needs to operate to get into the paint and to make it happen, to drive and kick and to drive and finish. So the only concern I would have if I'm Brooklyn is when it comes playoff time and when the game slows
Right.
down and when they start leaving him open and when they start, helping off of him and making him make shots. That would be my only concern. But in terms of the fit, the regular season fit, it on both sides, it would be great. And it's just a playoff fit. I'm not sure on the Brooklyn side. On the Philly side, we know what Kyrie is, and you made another great point that I want to touch on too, and piggyback on about Philly. Like all they care about is you come and you ball.
Right.
And the one thing we know about Kyrie is when he comes, he balls. So they would love him in Philly. So it would be interesting to see if that happens. It remains to be seen. But it's an interesting topic to talk about.
Right.
All right, let's move to the next topic. We had a lot of new coaches come in over this offseason, a lot of new hires that happened in terms of new coaches. And just to name a few, we got Jason Kidd, Rick Carlisle. We got, and I'll help you out, Mike, Ime Udoka with the Celtics, Jamal Mosley with the Magic, Wes Unseld Jr. with the Wizards. You have Willie Green with the New Orleans Pelicans, and Chauncey Billups with the Portland Trailblazers. I left out Nate McMillan because he already had a half a season, so I left him out. So out of all of those guys, who do you think is going to have the best record this coming season?
I'm going to go with my guy, my boy. No, I'm playing. You thought I was going to talk about the Bulls. Not at all. I definitely think Steve Nash. Steve Nash by a large margin, to me, is one of those guys I definitely think is going to have the best record in the NBA. I think, the Nets, without a doubt, are without
the new coaches.
The new coaches you're talking?
Yeah, the new coaches that got hired. Who do you think is going to
have
my guy from
record? Boston. My guy from Boston, without a doubt, in my mind. Okay. Kid is one of those guys. Kids with the Mavericks.
Dallas.
Right? Yes. Yeah. I think it's him and Kid are definitely going to be going up against each other. Pardon me, I really can't say his name, and I don't like butchering things. My guy in Boston, though.
There you go.
That's my guy. I'm rocking.
There you go. Keep it safe.
And until I get to that point where we're on a first name basis, my brother, I will address you as such. But as of right now, I don't want to ruin that relationship before it starts. So I think you bring in. I think Dennis Schroeder is definitely one of those guys that just got the hammer this offseason, man. I mean, the absolute hammer. And don't forget, Dennis can ball. Now,
yes.
Why Dennis failed was strictly because of LeBron James and because of Anthony Davis and because of that situation. The problem was with Rondo being gone, who Rondo knew how to win. Rondo can give you them buckets. You can rely on Rondo. Now, mind you, Dennis is coming from OKC. And in 1 year, you asked Dennis to go out there. Basically, you were asking him because you couldn't rely on Kuzma. THT is still very young. Taylor Horton Tucker, and a bunch of other cats. Marc Gasol wasn't doing nothing. Dwight Howard's gone. So you really did ask a lot of Dennis Schroeder. And I understand 0 points is very bad in a playoff game. But it was also one of his first playoff games, first meaningful playoff games. He had that little run with OKC, but no one believed in that. So to me, I'm looking at it like you were asking Dennis to give you 20 points per game and 10 plus assists. But that's just not Dennis's game. Now that Dennis has Tatum, now that Dennis has Brown and Smart and a bunch of other cats, Al Horford to some extent, them lobs going to be nice. It's definitely a situation where I feel like there's less pressure with being not around LeBron James. You're more around a young roster who you have time to build around. Not to take anything away from Bron or anything with the Lakers, but the Lakers are when you produce or you're gone. And I feel like Dennis was just trying to get in the door, and he's just trying to figure out himself in this system. And you were immediately asking for what Chris Paul could offer you. If Chris Paul was on the Lakers or Russell Westbrook could offer you. It's a conversation for a different day, what Russell really brings. But, turnovers are crazy right now. But that's my guy. But I think with Dennis, they were really quick to just shit on Dennis. And I feel like that he has something to prove. You lose $70+ million.
Absolutely.
Dennis can hoop. And I think that's a chip on Dennis's shoulder. I think a new coach, they have a lot to prove as a young core. They've been to the Eastern Conference Finals. They had their own situation with Kyrie Irving losing a leader. Now you have one in Tatum. I view Tatum as their leader. I think
he's the alpha. I think I agree with you.
Definitely Mamba mentality. He can hoop. And I feel like with Dennis now, he doesn't have to score 20 points. Tatum can. Jaylen Brown is emerging himself as a top 15 player before our very
Absolutely.
eyes.
Absolutely.
Marcus Smart, like we said, I'll say it on here too. I've already disrespected Stephen A. Smith. I'll disrespect Patrick Beverly. Marcus Smart is exactly what the Clippers wanted Patrick Beverly to be. This guy is feisty. This guy will make you want to cry. This guy will make you want to retire. And he could hoop as well. That's the only difference between him and Patrick Beverly is Marcus can actually hoop. So now Dennis can just facilitate the ball any way he wants and still average 7 to 10 points a game. The problem was Devin Booker, CP3, Ayton, all these cats, Crowder were all on him, and they were all ready to go. And Dennis was just trying to find his footing. So I think Boston, without a doubt. I didn't mean to go on a whole tandem, but I people are going to hate me for that pick, and I think it needs to be.
No, that's not a – I get it. That's not a bad pick. I was thinking it was between him. It was between Kidd. Who I actually wound up going with. I'm going with Rick Carlisle.
I like that.
I think he's going to have something to prove. I think he, has a new challenge now. Going to Indiana, and he's got some really good young talent there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Sabonis is a really good player. Brogdon's a really good player. Caris LeVert is a really good player. So he's got some good young talent to build around. And I think they're going to make some noise. I think they're going to move up in the Eastern Conference this year. And I think he's going to really be motivated to and I think that's what they were missing is, just that guy that really the veteran coach to be able to coach those young players and to, put them in positions and to be successful and put them, in opportunities that they're going to be able to be the best version of themselves. So I think Rick Carlisle is going to be, for me, is the guy that's going to have the best record. But you got a lot of, a lot of these other guys are in rebuilding situations, the Jamal Moore, the Magics and the Wizards. So we can't really expect much from them. I'm interested to see what Chauncey Billups is going to do in Portland. That's one I'm going to be keeping my eye on too. Just,
that could go really good or by mid-season, really bad.
Yeah, that's what's going to be an interesting one to see what happens because, like you said, it could go left, if things that get off to a slow start, Dame might be like, so that's what I was just about to say, that Dame might get to the point like, yo, this is it. I've gone as far as I can go with this team. It's time for me to make a move. So that's one to definitely keep an eye on. So now having talked about new coaches, the other side of it is coaches wind up being on the hot seat or coaches wind up losing their jobs, it seems like every year. So, and I'll start with this one. Who would be the coach that you think is going to be on the hot seat or who's in trouble of losing their job this upcoming season? And the guy for me is Luke Walton. That's the guy who I'm concerned about is in Sacramento because, they've been trying to build that roster. They've had a lot of lottery picks. They made a lot of draft picks. They got a lot of young talent on that team. And it seems like they haven't been able to get over the hump.
Right.
And I think this might be it for Luke Walton, that they either going to have to make some type of run. If we could find a way to get into that, those last two seeds or maybe get into that play-in tournament, that might save his job. But I think it's one of those things where if they don't make the playoffs, then he's going to wind up getting fired. So who do you think is who do you think is on the hot seat for this year?
I hate to do it to the man. I love the man. I got mad respect for him. Ty Lue. Ty Lue, to me, I think gets the wrong end of the stick. And I think he is the scapegoat for the failure of the Clippers season. Because I know for a fact they don't want to give up on Kawhi. I don't know for a fact, but I could assume they don't want to give up on Kawhi. They want to give him that time.
They just signed him, so
right. So there's nothing to prove to me otherwise.
Exactly.
But we've seen crazier things happen. But I think the Clippers' failure this season will have, if they fail, needs to be addressed. You know what I mean? Like we're talking about 2 years ago, them being the Kings of LA and them being the guys who are going to take over, and Kawhi's got the crown in his dashboard and everything else. Like he's trying to with this New Balance deal. You're acting like the Kings of LA. Lakers have won a chip. They just retooled first rounder. I understand that Kawhi went down with an ACL injury, and that's something you don't prepare for. And to be honest, they did have the Suns' number at that time when Kawhi was hooping. I can't ignore that. A lot of luck went into that, to Freddie's point. But also, you had guys stepping up on that team as well. I forget his name. What's the kid's name? He's stepping up.
Terrence Mann.
Yes, this man crying after the game because nobody else wanted to give him an opportunity, and now he finally gets that opportunity and he steps up. Now, what I felt like messed up with that, I feel like you still could have won that series, and you definitely could have gave the Bucks a decent fight. To me, I still got the Bucks, but you know what I mean. Like I don't think they had the big men to win that, but especially with Kawhi down. But I felt like with Terrence Mann, really stepping up the way he did, you just didn't make enough adjustments to handle. Like CP3 was not going out during that series. Like he was not going off. He was not averaging over 20 points. He was not being a dog. He was not doing anything really that great. And Ayton was kind of on and off throughout that series. So to me, you did have Serge Ibaka out. You did have Kawhi Leonard go down, and that's a big understanding. But you also had a fairly decent lead in a lot of these games, and you just couldn't close out. And I think that was the narrative in Cleveland. And I think if they do need to blame it on somebody, and you can't blame it on PG, and you can't blame it on Kawhi for not being there. So somebody has to take that, understanding of, going into year 3 now of Ty Lue, and you haven't done anything. The Lakers are making moves, and I feel like a lot of teams are making moves, and there's a lot of head coaching opportunities now. So I definitely think Ty Lue's time could come to an end. But Luke Walton, that whole Sacramento thing got to go. Like I think the front top to bottom needs to go, because Hield is a dog, Fox is a dog, but you don't put anything around them.
Yeah, it's tough. That's interesting, that Clippers. The only thing I would say about that, though, is I think that Kawhi actually buys him some time. I think the fact that he's going to be out most of this season, I think that might buy him another year. So I think that's the only thing that may keep him from being off the hot seat. The fact that they're probably going to struggle a little bit without him being there, so that might buy him.
Right.
But who knows, man?
Two-sided coin, though. It's a two-sided coin.
Yeah.
The playoffs, Ty Lue saves his job. I did this without Kawhi.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. That solidifies him.
Like PG's not the voice. We know he's not the voice. But Ty Lue would be the leader of that locker room. Now, it like I said, two-way street. So he could either really impress us or, be the scapegoat, in a sense. You go into 2022, 2023 thinking, let's have a fresh start. Real head coach, not that he's not a real head coach, but you know what I mean? Like a more modern day, ready to win now. I don't need LeBron James type head coach. And then you bring in some weapons for Kawhi and PG. That's the way I look at
it. Yeah, definitely. All right, so with the season about to kick off next week, I thought let's do some over-unders.
Oh, yeah.
So let's do some over-unders. Let's start with the Hawks. The Hawks over-under is 47.5. What do you think? We going? You going over? You going under?
Can I do this, Kenny? I like it where it is. I like it exactly where it is. I wouldn't say under. I think that's a great place for them. The thing with the Hawks, and I'm going to say this respectfully, they're a great team, but I think they definitely get beat. They have a rough schedule. They definitely get beat by the better ones, regardless. I think they do just enough to make the playoffs, and then they start performing. But I think as a regular season team, I think they're above average.
Okay. Actually, I think I'm gonna go over. I think that they're going, to pretty much have the whole team back. You bring Nate McMillan back, you lock him in. I think Trae Young is just gonna. Yeah, Trae Young is just going to continue to ascend. They paid those two guys, him and Collins, so they kind of got the core together. So I think they're going to ascend. I think they're going to get to that. I don't think it's if I would go 40 at 49 at the most. I don't see them winning 50 games.
Right.
To your point that they do have some times where they can kind of be up and down and kind of not be as consistent. And I guess that's because you got a lot of young guys on that roster, but. I think they could go a little over 47.5. So that's going to be an interesting one to look at.
I like
All right. I'm gonna let you cook on this one. This one is I'm coming right to you, Mr. Chi-Town. Chicago Bulls 43.5 is the over-under. I already know what you're saying. But I'm gonna let you guys speak your piece.
It's over. It's over, and I'm not saying we're gonna go out there and be like the 2010 Bulls and win.
So
60.
give me a number though.
I'm gonna say the Bulls could win anywhere from 46 to 52 games. That's truly how I look at it. I truly think they're that deep. And respect to the Hawks. I respect the Hawks to a very high level. But you're forgetting a lot of things about the Chicago Bulls team. You have, two 2020 All-Stars in Vucevic and Zach LaVine. They've already had half a season to play together. They were on the same team. They spent the entire All-Star game together, which was interesting, and there's a little bit of tampering with that. Speaking of tampering, you bring in Lonzo Ball, who has all-star level talent from the point guard position. Maybe the points don't transfer to all-star level caliber player, but he's definitely a floor general. You bring that in. You know what I mean? Kobe White moved to the bench with Alex Caruso. I think is just a match made in heaven. I keep saying Kyrie.
It's only your brain.
Caruso moves to the point, and biggest flaw of Kobe White is his floor general issues, and he's a great scorer. You put him at the shooting guard, you put him at the 2, you got a great backcourt right there, and I think that's amazing. I definitely think that's going to be something to look forward to. Patrick Williams going into year 2, he has comparisons to Kawhi Leonard, Jimmy Butler for his defense, and he's just a great hooper. You also have, DeMar DeRozan. We're talking great hoopers. And don't forget, the 2020 Coach of the Year, who all he needs is a point guard to be successful with an offense. We got him. And that's our guy, Billy Donovan. And we love Billy. And don't forget, biggest key I'm going to make. You think we're done making moves? If we really start winning, just wait till that trade deadline. We'll be there. Y'all ready to give up on Kawhi over there? We'll give you Patrick Williams. That's cool. We'll do that. That's fine. We'll make the move. But in all seriousness, I think they have the best, coaching staff, and and the best front office. And I have not said that in Chicago in my 21 years. My 21 years of life.
I bet you haven't.
I have never said that. But I truly do believe it with Chris and Billy. They are amazing. They have the same GM and the same, front office as the Nuggets. That they constructed that Joker, that Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray team. We're doing the same thing right now, and it all starts with Vooch, and it all starts with Lonzo. Because LaVine, we know what we got with them, but we all know that front office loves big men, and we all know how Billy Donovan feels about point guards, and we got them everything they needed. You're also in the Windy City. I don't mean to flex, but when you're playing in the United Center, it's a different breed, Kenny. I don't know if you've ever been. It's a different atmosphere, man.
I understand. It's interesting with this one because, I was looking at they were 31-41 this last season, and with the talent upgrade,
with nothing.
That's what I'm saying. With the talent upgrade, you definitely have to put at least 10 wins.
Right.
That should make at least a 10-win difference. So that puts you right at 40, right at 500. So winning, 3 more games, yeah. I have to agree with you. I would have to go over. I think, they get maybe 45, somewhere around that, right. 45, 46, something like that.
Right. And when I said 52, I'm saying best case
That's
scenario.
Best case scenario. Absolutely.
Yeah,
no.
Like,
Understood.
It's not
Understood.
like, they're winning 50 games.
If everything falls into
case.
place and, they figure out the chemistry, figure out the rotations and all of that stuff, then that's definitely best case scenario because, again, there's a lot of talent on that roster. So, if it all comes together, it could be lovely for you out there.
Don't forget, Kenny, who's shooting that 3 ball now? 7 for 8 in this first preseason game with the Bulls. Lonzo Ball shooting 3s at a consistent. Ben Simmons, bro, if you're in this live.
That right there is Exhibit A. Like, that's the biggest. Yeah, no. Like his shot, his mechanics, like he totally overhauled his mechanics and has become now he's become someone that you can't leave open. Like he's really, so that's really a credit to him. So that is really case. That's Exhibit A for Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a great one. All right, let's go to this last team in the Eastern Conference before we go to the West. Miami Heat, 48.5. And I'll go first with this one. 48.5. Man, this is a hard one for me, but I'm gonna go over. I think that infusing Kyle Lowry into that lineup, and we talked about this before. I think this is gonna make life easier for Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
That he doesn't have to be as much of a playmaker. He can really focus on scoring and focus on being that two-way guy. So he can just score and focus on locking up on the other end. Also, I think it's going to free up Bam, because he's kind of been having to be a little, kind of passive, being a high post passer and things of that
It's
nature.
weird watching that, isn't it? When Bam.
Yeah. So I think that's going to free everybody up to kind of, play to their strengths and not have to be not as versatile.
Right.
So I think that's going to result in them being a little better and everybody playing a little freer. So I think 48 and a half, I think I would go over on that when I go over.
Right.
What would you say?
The Miami Heat thing, I was reading your topics earlier and I was looking at it, and it's exactly why I had to leave the Hawks where they're at. Because if I have the Bulls potentially winning 50-plus games, I got the Bucks obviously winning 50-plus, and the Nets, I can't have everybody in the East winning 50-plus games. That's just not realistic. So to me, I wanted to put the Heat at over. I definitely think they have that capability if healthy. The biggest key factor to me is actually Tyler Hero. I think Tyler Hero, not hyping him up by any means. I've been watching this kid since I was in high school, on Max Prep Sports. He's in Milwaukee. I'm in Chicago. We're always paying attention.
Sure.
So, Tyler Hero on the stat chart always been someone I've been following. And then in Kentucky, my problem with Tyler is this Hollywood type agenda that he's been getting. He's on tour with Jack Harlow. He's dating Instagram models, God bless him and his kid that he's recently having it, or I don't know if he had it, but it's an amazing thing. But I sense a lot of distraction with Tyler Hero, and I know Duncan Robinson's locked in. He has his little podcast with others, but I definitely think it's not little, it's pretty good. But it's definitely something not to be concerned about. But Tyler Hero and his focus on the court, to me, is the biggest key factor. Because like you said, I've been watching Jimmy since the Marquette days. I definitely think, you don't have to question Jimmy. Kyle Lowry, champion. Don't got to question him. You know what happens when you give him a Kawhi, a Jimmy Butler. You can win a championship. A Bam. I think Bam's one of my defensive player of the year candidates. I think Bam's going to step up and be that dude. Kawhi's out. Definitely think you got to pay attention for Bam. Duncan and others, all solid. My question is Tyler. And if you can win with Tyler, I say you win over 50 games. That's
Yeah. He took a step back last year, so
right.
that's a valid.
I think that's a check, though. That's a reality check. So he can either take that for what it is and grow on it, or continue to get distracted.
That's a valid question. Yeah, that's a valid question. I think, and you make a great point. I think that punch off the bench is going to be key for those guys, because you got some veterans on that team, so that off the bench punch is going to be key. All right, let's go to the West. We'll start out in Golden State. Golden State is also at 48 and a half. So we think you're going over or you're going under with them?
I'm gonna say, Kenny, getting me in trouble here, Kenny. I'm a Clay guy. I think it all factors on Clay, coming back, presumably on Christmas. I think that's why it's under, is because I think that beginning stretch is kind of rough. And I don't think you can make up with that just by Clay coming back, because mind you, when Clay comes back, going to be limited, and then he'll work his way back up to fully being groomed and fully being able to go out there and give you 30 plus a night. And we'll see. That's if he can go. So I definitely say under, but I definitely think they are, by the end of the season, they are going to be a very good basketball team if everybody's healthy and if Clay is back.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that they're going to. The question is what you said about Clay is the fact that he's probably not coming back until Christmas at the earliest.
Right.
They may push him back to the start of the second half of the season. Who knows? Just to make sure that he's ready to go. And and then integrating him back into the lineup, and figuring out how that's going to work between him and Wiggins, and kind of working out that dynamic and how that's going to work. So I think that's interesting and to see how that's going to work. And I also think that, you know, you got to see how those young guys are going to
Right.
progress. The James Wisemans, the, you
I'm
know, the
very
Kamingas.
interested in
Yeah, you know, those Kamingas and those guys, the 2 draft picks that they just picked, you know.
Right.
So they have a lot of moving parts. So I'm with you in terms of being under for them.
Yeah.
All right. Another team we talked about a little bit earlier, the Dallas Mavericks. They're at 48.5 as well. I'm actually going to go, man, I'm going to go under on this one too.
I'm with you, Kenny.
Yeah, because I think that they're, you know, of course it's a new coach, it's a new system.
Right. And it's,
you know,
kid. So
we
really don't know. We really don't know what kid you're going to get.
Yeah, so I think that's the question. And I like what I've seen so far. You know, I was watching them last night, man. They stomped out the Hornets. Of course, it's preseason, but what I liked about it was that I saw KP operating some in the mid post. I saw him, you know, getting the ball in the post, and I think that's going to be an emphasis for them this year. And I think that's going to make them a better team, because it can't be the Luka. You know, as much as we love Luka, and I know you know that's your dude.
That's my Luka Magic, baby.
Yeah, I know that's your guy, but it can't just be the Luka. It can't just be the Luka Doncic show. So I think they need him to. They need KP to be that 20+ guy. You know, so I think that's going to be the dynamic that's going to be worked out. And while they're working that out, that may take some, you know, some bumps and some bruises as a result of that. So I'm going to go under on that one.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I'm looking at their roster right now, and I'm also looking at what happened last night. Porzingis looked good. Would you say, Kenny?
Oh, absolutely.
I think he looked great as well. But at the same time, I'm still only seeing 17 points. You know, and I know it's preseason. I know that means nothing. But what you brought him in to be was not what you gave away. You know what I mean? Like it's not what you thought you were getting. You thought you were getting the unicorn. Instead, you have Kristaps Porzingis. He just hasn't transformed back into that guy we once saw prior to all these injuries. And I think, you know, after Tim Hardaway, Luka Doncic, and then, you know, not in that order, but and then KP, I really think, you know, you're just not big enough, and you're not deep enough. And I think, you know, to kids' credit, you know, you're working with a very limited roster. Now, let's say, you know, Tim Hardaway is a journeyman, and Tim Hardaway is one of those guys that I feel like, you know, can easily be your 2 or 3 on a championship type team, kind of like a True Holiday. But at the same, like, as disrespectful as this sounds, Kenny, I think they're so close to being the Portland Trailblazers. I think the only difference is,
that's not disrespectful at all. That's really reality, because they've been a middling playoff team for these last few years, going out in the first round.
It's just not like Mark Cuban is a very smart man. Mark Cuban is the guy. Mark Cuban's got Shark Tank. He's a billionaire, multi-billionaire. He's got all the money in the world. And he loves basketball, truly loves basketball. I believe in the guy. But I feel like he doesn't have the right mindset for the first time, I'll say this, in hiring basketball-minded front offices. I think, you know, when you have Luka, you know, we're talking about, Kenny, name a couple rookies that you're excited about on this Dallas team, other than, you know, Luka being a new one. Nobody. You bring in KCP, you bring in, not KCP, KP. You bring in KP, you know, Hardaway, all veterans. Dude, like, what are we building here? It's not like Ayton and Booker. It's not like, you know, like Ja and others. It's not like all these guys that are young, this young Bulls team, all 20-year-olds. It's really Luka versus the world in Dallas. And I think Luka will carry you as far as he can. But God forbid something happens to Luka, because you're a lottery team without him.
That's a fact.
So I got under. I definitely got under.
Yeah. I think you nailed it in terms of the lack of depth. That's really going to be their challenge.
And just a lack of a future.
Yeah. And, you know, it's crazy because I think that's really what's kind of held them back in terms of making another push, is that they haven't been able to get that superstar, haven't been able to get that free agent to, you know, to come to Dallas, which has really been kind of surprising to me, because Dallas is a great market, you know, great city, great weather, you know, no state income tax, all those things, but it hasn't resulted in them being able. Mark Cuban is a great owner. Playing a great arena.
That's where it comes into what I'm saying, though, is, the same thing with Chicago. And Kenny, bro, we're not going to get off topic. But you cannot tell me that Bron, Wade, and Bosh would have rather been in Miami with just those three than go to Chicago and team up with a young Rose that hadn't gotten paid yet and a young Noah that didn't get paid yet. The only reason they didn't go, in my eyes, is because of that front office. It wasn't about the owner. It wasn't about Jerry. It wasn't about Tibbs. It was about the front office of Gar Forman and John Paxson, that they didn't believe in taking care and maintaining success. So to me, they'd rather stay with a Pat Riley. They'd rather stay with those guys. And that's the same thing in Dallas. To me, I thought their biggest shot, and I know we're talking about youth and how they have no youth, but Kawhi Leonard was the free agent for them, prior to that ACL. I feel like maybe there would have been a little bit more of a push had that ACL injury not happened. But I definitely thought Luka and Kawhi and Hardaway would run that league forever. And if somehow they could keep KP in that, it would have been nice. But, I definitely think a front office plays a role, because look at the Bulls. They changed their front office to a respected front office that came from Denver. And in a year, free agents everywhere. We got champions on the team. We got the coach of the year. We got everything we ever wanted in a year of that front office being changed. So I think Dallas, Mark Cuban needs to pay attention.
Yeah, that's really a good point. That's probably what they're going to have to do in terms of taking the next step, is to really address that front. You got Jason Kidd, you got somebody in there that's a player. Right. That has championship pedigree. It's Hall of Famer. So you got that locked down. Now it's time to make that upgrade in the front office. And knowing Mark Cuban is committed to winning as he is, I wouldn't be surprised if he did that.
Yeah.
All right. So before we get into this next topic, let's pause and take a quick break.
This is the Fox D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at foxdnetwork.com.
All right, we're back.
Yeah, I seen that.
You saw that? I
seen that. Kenny was about to start talking.
I almost jumped the gun. So, we did some over and unders. We did a little light predictions in terms of the East and West. So now let's talk about some dark horse. Let's talk about a dark horse team. Give me a dark horse team in the East and give me a dark horse team in the West that people may not be talking about. They need to keep an eye out for.
For the West, I actually have, we found out today he's going to probably miss about 2 weeks in the beginning of the season. But I definitely have the Pelicans. I think the Pelicans completely finessed the Memphis Grizzlies for Steven Adams, for Valanciunas. I still don't understand a lot of the moves Memphis made. Memphis was actually going to be my dark horse of the West had they made the right moves in the offseason. But they definitely didn't. And I think they actually got worse. I could be wrong, but I think they got worse. I think you have a big group of, Thomas Satoransky is a great point guard. He was on the Bulls. He's definitely, not going to – he's not going to be he's the same thing as a Dennis Schroeder to me, is where if you allow him to have the right guys around him, he can hoop, and he'll give you 10-plus assists a night. He might average 10 points, but he'll give you the assists. So I think you have a good thing there. You have big men now in Ingram, Valanciunas, and Zion. I think this is a great team. You still have Josh Hart, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And you have a couple rookies that you still bring in. So I'm really excited to see just where they land and what they're capable of. Because mind you, this is Zion Williamson, number 1 overall pick, the next gen, the biggest walk of life. And RJ's made the playoffs. Cam has made the playoffs, and a bunch of other people from that draft class have made the playoffs. Zion has yet to make the playoffs. I think this is a big statement year for Zion once he's healthy. For the East, they just got blown out of the water, Kenny. They just got blown out of the water by 68 points. But I definitely think Charlotte is still a sleeper just because of it, just because it's Charlotte. So I definitely think they're slept on. I think they're going to be a lot better than they really are. I'm really excited to see the light-skinned brothers go at it. I'm really excited to see, Oubre and LaMelo doing their thing. I think that it's Skywalkers, just like Chicago. They got some Skywalkers who can really hoop and really dunk that ball. You got Miles Bridges. Don't forget about that brother. He's a dog.
Absolutely.
They got a lot of dogs. I know they
it.
still have Cody. I think they got a lot of guys. I think those are my two sleepers.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually going to disagree with you in the West and go with the Grizzlies. I think the reason being is I think Ja Morant is about to terrorize the league.
I agree.
Yeah, I think
Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, I think he's about to terrorize the league, and having a healthy Jaren Jackson this year is going to make a huge difference. Yeah. I think that combination is going to propel them to kind of take a step forward. They took a step forward this past season, knocking off Golden State. So I think that's going to be, I think that's going to give them a little momentum, and just the fact that Ja is going to elevate himself. I think that's going to really to make them a better team. And I think Steven Adams is going to be that guy that's going to do all the dirty work. He's going to be able to free up Jaren Jackson and not have to play the 5. And so he'll be able to really, do his thing offensively and not have to worry about, really battling in the trenches as much defensively. So I think that's going to keep him fresher. So I think that's going to make them, be that much better this year. My team in the East is probably going to shock you. I'm going to go with the Washington Wizards.
Nah, that's good. I like it.
Yeah.
Very young.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think that they added a lot of talent to their roster, with that trade that they made. KCP is super solid. So he won't have to worry about, scoring. He could be that 3-and-D guy because you got Brad Beal that's going to get buckets. I think Kyle Kuzma has something to prove, and I think he's going to, put up some numbers. I don't think it's going to be on the level of Brandon Ingram kind of breakout the way he was in New Orleans, but I think he's going to be like a 15 to 17 point consistently per night guy in Washington. And we know what Brad Beal is, and Spencer Dinwiddie. I think he's a really good guard that, really underrated and doesn't really get his just due. And now he's got a situation where he could be the guy. I think they're going to be better, significantly better.
Got my boy, Kenny.
Who's that?
Oh, man, you didn't even.
Oh, Rui?
Nah, Denny Avdija.
The young guy. Yeah.
Yeah, the white kid from Europe. I think, to me, the biggest problem with him, and just to piggyback off you, I'll actually, you know what? First time it's ever happened, I'm changing my pick. I agree with Kenny. Kenny won me over. He almost won me over with Memphis, but
I'm not mad at that.
But I'm definitely going to change to Washington just because Denny for me I think is a big factor with overseas. He was really the floor general. So when you brought him into Washington, the problem was Russell Westbrook was that floor general. You're not touching this ball. You better shoot your shot. And that's if I give it to you. Like, real talk, and that's how it was. I'm a big Westbrook fan, but that's honestly that's how it is, bro. So for Denny to be able, while Spencer's kind of rehabbing, and we'll call it rehabbing because that's what it really is in your first year back after an ACL tear, at least your first 6 months back. And I think Denny's really going to be able to get that opportunity to be that floor general, really feed guys like Beal, really get open shots. Because Kuzma, respectfully, dog, you're going to get a lot of open shots just because of the disrespect until you start proving it. But if you start proving that, man, I think Denny and all of them, I think they're going to be nice.
Yeah. I'm just interested to see how all those pieces fit together. But the fact that the most important thing is they got some talent there and they got some depth.
They fixed it very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, that deal. And, we didn't even talk about the, Montrezl Harrell in terms of the energy that he brings.
Right.
So, that's nothing but a positive. All right. So there's the last topic, our infamous rank 'em. We got a tough one tonight. We got a goodie tonight. We're going with the bigs and kind of going a little old school or kind of new old school, depends on how old you are. And we got the bigs. We got KD, we got Tim Duncan, and we got Chris Webber.
Oh, you said KD.
Yeah, I'm
thing.
sorry, not KD, KG. My bad, KG.
Because
that's
my
bad.
You wrote KG.
Yeah, no, that's KG.
You wrote
my
KG,
bad.
Garnett.
No, KG. Yeah, KG, Duncan, and Chris Webber. So we're going with the newly enshrined Hall of Famers. KG, Chris Webber, and Tim Duncan. Rank them.
You want me to go first, Kenny?
You can go first.
Man, I'm young, man. You're doing this to me, but I'm doing this by my personal preference. So if you in the comments and you don't like it, I don't care. But
that's all it is.
To me, I got KG at 1. I'm sorry. I got KG at 1. Just because of how feared he was when he teamed up in Boston, when he did his thing, when he got his guys, when you got the right guy. I feel like I look at it as when you get the right people around you, what were they at their best? You know what I mean? Like when I look at Michael Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron, I say, okay, I don't look at the beginning when they were by themselves. I don't take Bron's finals losses, to his discredit when he was young. I don't take, MJ missing the playoffs and Kobe missing it. I look at it as when you had your super team, how good were you? And how scared was the league to the fact that LeBron James had to create his own super team to go against you. So that really just snowballed into a whole different thing of now we got 5 all-stars on one team, like it's crazy as hell, and 2 on the bench, like in Brooklyn. So so I got KG at 1 just for what he did with the game. At 2, love me some Tim. Love Tim Duncan. But I'm gonna put your boy at 2 and Tim at 3 because I think it's a respect thing. It's a very respect thing, and I think Tim had more and did less. That's the way I look at it.
Hey, that's actually, I'm not mad at that. I actually got 2 lists. That's crazy. So
how you gonna get me choking up here, sweating my ass off, and you tell me we could have 2 lists?
No. I'm saying that. Let me break it down.
Killing
so
me.
If we're going, so it's 2 criteria that I'm going by.
Right.
So my first criteria is resume, and then my second criteria is in terms of all around and skill level.
Okay.
All right. So if we're going all around the skill level, I'm going Chris Webber number 1.
Right.
Because Chris Webber was the most versatile out of these 3 guys. Great passer, great rebounder, block shots, could shoot it, for all 3 levels. He could, hit the 3 ball if need be. He could score in the post. Offense ran through him. So in terms of the skill level, I think he was the most skilled out of the 3 of them.
Yeah, I agree.
And then it would be KG, and then it would be Tim Duncan. My other list, though, and this is the list that I'm actually using, is because it's resume. So if we're going resume, then I got Tim Duncan number 1, I got KG number 2, and then I got Chris Webber number 3. Right. And the reason being is because I think resume carries a little more. It carries more totality.
Right.
It puts all of those things into it. So I think that's the most important in terms of criteria is your whole resume, your whole body of work.
Right.
So with that being said, that's why I would go Tim Duncan, KG, and Chris Webber.
See, I really wanted to put Tim at 2. And the reason I put the really real reason I put KG at 1, I know Freddie's probably somewhere.
Because he was in Chicago one year for high school. That's why I did.
Not at all. But it's how what happened with him, Rondo, and all of them, and Perk really changed the future of the NBA and where we are today.
Oh, that's a fact. 100%
and I truly feel that way because
that is a fact.
I don't think Bron goes and teams up with
No,
Wiggy.
that is a fact.
Yeah. So the magnitude, I think, of the disrespect of KG and that whole Boston unit throughout the years, it really goes overlooked. Everyone says Miami was the first real super team in the 21st century.
No.
It wasn't LA, it wasn't Miami, it wasn't
It was Boston.
Chicago. It was Boston. And Boston set that up. Now I wanted to put Tim at 2 because of what you said. His resume is better than all 3 in my opinion. Overall, but like you said, man, Webber all around, you can't put him at 3. You just can't. You know what I mean? So like it all depends on ain't nothing wrong with 3. So that's how I looked at it. I just had to be, I have to acknowledge what KG did for the game, and how he changed everything, and then I acknowledge your overall talent in Webber. And Tim, you my man. You at 3 though. But you my man. You at the table. You definitely at the table. You eating nice. But you had 3.
No, I'm not mad at it at all. And, again, with these lists, man, it's all based on your preference and who, what carries the most weight with you at the end of the day.
Right.
So yeah, it's all in fun. These are all-time greats and Hall of Fame. So we just having a little fun.
I'm missing every day, G.
No doubt. So that's it for tonight's episode of Real Talk. Me and my man Mike held it down for the crew. We'll be back on Monday talking some football, and hopefully we'll be talking about another Cowboys win and another Bears win.
Oh yeah, we knew what L we talking about, right?
Yeah, and another Giants loss. So
yes, sir.
So we can laugh at Freddie. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your night, enjoy your weekend, and we'll be back same time on Monday.
Go Sky, boys. Go get them.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we're making up plays. We're talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays.